to the launch, Melbourne yesterday, that dangerous political movement, Muslim Votes Matter, said it's targeting 32 seats in the next federal election, 29 of them Labor. And that's to get Muslim voters to punish politicians who they think are not anti-Israel enough.
The scorecards that are on our website right now are entirely around what those politicians have said or done in Parliament with respect to the unfolding genocide in Gaza.
Now, these are all seats with big Muslim minorities, and they're listed on the Muslim Votes Matter website, starting mostly with Sydney seats, which are very Muslim, held by Labor ministers Jason Clare, Tony Burke, Chris Bowen, sure got their attention, and attacking them for still not standing up enough for Gaza, still not attacking Israel enough. Now, this is already dangerous. So, it's important to Australia politics, the kind of tribal hatreds of the Middle East. And it's making the number one issue here for Muslims a hatred of Israel and an attitude to a war in Gaza over which Australia has no control. Now, this pressure from Muslim voters, in my opinion, is what's persuaded the Albanese government, for instance, to issue 3,000 tourism visas to refugees from terrorist-run Gaza, without even an interview. But what journalists failed to report yesterday or today was something I need to show you, the most dangerous thing that I think was said at yesterday's launch. It was by this woman, a doctor, Amber Rind, the epitome of the identity politics now dividing Australia. Someone who claims she's both Pakistani Muslim and Indigenous, because she had a great-grandmother, she said, who had some Aboriginal ancestry somewhere, which is apparently now enough to make you Indigenous too. But here now is what this Amber Rind said to this launch of Muslim activists wanting to change our politics.
From Gaza to the Northern Territory, we are fighting the same enemy. The Palestinian cause is integral to all anti-colonial struggles and resonates with all First Nations peoples. And remember, what's happening there, it's not a foreign issue, it's our issue here because it's all part of the same oppressive system.
I mean, listen to that. From Gaza to the Northern Territory, we are fighting the same enemy. Fighting? And what enemy should Muslims and Aborigines here be fighting? The same kind of enemy here that Hamas has slaughtered, raped and kidnapped in Israel and murdered too, like the 6 Jewish hostages Hamas executed this weekend after holding them underground for nearly a year. I mean, you've got to ask what madness this is. It's just not just risking importing this hatred to Australia, but likening that anti-Israel war to a fight Aborigines supposedly fight with the enemy here. And don't think that what that doctor said was a slip of the tongue. That Muslim Votes Matter launch yesterday showed maps falsely claiming to demonstrate how Jews had stolen land from Palestinians. And next to it, they hung a map of Australia showing how Aborigines supposedly had their land stolen as well. And what's more, for the past 11 months, Palestinian activists and Aboriginal activists both have deliberately linked the Palestinian cause with the Aboriginal one, like by wearing the flags on the lapel of both causes, or the flags in demonstrations, and waving the Aboriginal flags at pro-Palestinian rallies and claiming both are fighting colonialists.
For First Nations people, there's an incredible solidarity that exists here.
And this reckless rhetoric is getting worse. I mean, you take Mohammed Sharab. He's a Palestinian activist who's been arrested on unrelated charges of assault and kidnapping. He was speaking alongside Kieran Stewart Ashton, who identifies as Aboriginal and is president of something called the Black People's Union.
The colonial entities are going to call us terrorists. And, at the end of the day, to them, we might be terrorists, if we're being honest. We are, because we're terrorising the colonial systems. But the colonial systems shouldn't be here in the first place. They shouldn't be in Palestine in the first place. They shouldn't be anywhere in the world in the first place. We have every right to become terrorists of these colonial occupations because they've spent how many decades now terrorising our people and occupying our lands. Any sort of, terrorism that we might commit is justified resistance. It's legally justified under international law, and it's justified morally, and it's justified ethically.
They label us as terrorists. I chant. We haven't even started the proper resistance action yet. We will.
Long live the resistance, long live Hamas.
Supporters of Muslim Votes Matter do not support terrorism. But what we are seeing is a dangerous weaving together of a war in Gaza, one side led by Hamas terrorists, and the so-called Aboriginal struggle here. And this is very new to Australia. It is delegitimising Australia, and it is also so very dangerous.